You said homeschooling was something you would never do. And yet, here you are. Hey guys, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Today, we are talking about coronavirus homeschooling. How many people said they would never, ever homeschool, but now you have to because of a pandemic? Maybe your school is shut down. Maybe it's online learning. Maybe you're not sure if it will be shut down and you just don't want to take those chances. So you're just going to homeschool. There's a lot going on right now, and there are a lot of new homeschoolers because of it. First of all, just let me say that you are in excellent company as a homeschooler. Whatever perceptions you've had about homeschoolers in the past, that they're weird, that they're unsocialized, that maybe they don't get a good education, trust me, those are completely false. Homeschooling is more popular than ever, and a simple Google search will show you that homeschoolers, on average, test 15 to 30% higher than public and private school kids. There are so many reasons that people choose to homeschool. Sometimes a family needs flexibility in their schedule. They want to arrange it around traveling. Sometimes kids have special needs and they need an education that's suited and tailored to them. And sometimes parents really see the academic benefits and they just want to offer their kids a different learning style and give them more opportunities. And then sometimes there's a pandemic and schools shut down and there are new rules in place and it's craziness and you're just like, I'm just gonna homeschool. I don't know what else to do. That's a valid reason too. In today's video, I'm going to address some of the concerns that I'm hearing from new homeschoolers and talk to you about the transition process, because transitioning from public school to homeschooling can sometimes be a little challenging. Now, maybe you have a perception that homeschooling is really, really hard. Let me just tell you, it is not as difficult as you think it is. Now, I do have a caveat to that. I feel that the most challenging part of homeschooling is the transition. When you're used to doing life a certain way and you make a huge shift and change in your family, there is going to be a learning curve. There's going to be some struggle in all of the change that's happening, and that's completely normal. When you talk to homeschool families, most of them will say that first year was the hardest. So I don't want to tell you that it's all butterflies and roses and all going to be super easy. It's not. But in the long run, you might just find that homeschooling is not as challenging as you thought it was, and it may even be easier for your family than public school was. For my family, we're large. We have 4 children, and getting everybody to their extracurriculars, plus the piles of homework in the evenings, that was not a good fit for us. So public school actually ended up being more challenging for me as a mom of 4, with all of their individual needs and the individual teachers contacting me. That was more challenging than homeschooling. With homeschooling, I feel like we have more time to spend together as a family, more freedom and flexibility in our schedules, and we get to live life at a slower pace. Now, being a new homeschooler, your initial knee-jerk reaction is going to be trying to recreate school at home. Let me give you some advice to not do that. Recreating public school at home is going to be a disaster. Nobody's going to like it. Student and teachers will be miserable, I promise. Now, my reason for saying that is there is a lot of time wasted at public school, and it's not really the best environment conducive to learning. Since you're going to be homeschooling, you will have the freedom and opportunity to explore a lot of different ways to teach your children. You can learn outdoors, you can learn on your living room couch, at your breakfast table. There is limitless possibilities for putting your kids in different environments that may help them to focus better, to pay attention better, putting breaks throughout your day, and 8 hours, definitely you don't need to be schooling for 8 hours a day. The average homeschool family gets finished with their work in 2 to 3 hours in the daytime. Now, for some of the older grades or kids that are preparing for SATs, maybe doing dual enrollment classes, earning their associate's degree during high school, 3 hours is probably not quite enough, but for the younger grades and for middle school grades even, 3 hours is usually plenty of time for homeschooling. Now, as you make the transition into homeschooling, you're going to want to decide first what your teaching style is going to be. There are actually options out there, and many people don't even know that. So the way that a public school teaches is what we call traditional. There are about 5 major styles of teaching: traditional, classical, Charlotte Mason, unit study, and unschooling are probably the top 5. Some people do a little bit of a mixture of 2 or 3 of those, and they're called eclectic. That's probably what would best describe me, but we tend to lean towards the Charlotte Mason style of learning most. Now, if you plan to get your kids back into public school as quickly as possible and you want them to be on track for their grade level next year, you're probably going to want to stick with a traditional style of curriculum. I'm going to link below a list of some curriculums that fit into each of these teaching style categories, and I'm also going to link below a video that I recommend all the time. It is called The 5 Flavors of Homeschooling. It addresses each of the 5 styles I just talked about, and it has a little quiz in there to help you decide which one fits your family the best. It's really fun. Even if you think you want to go traditional, go ahead and take the quiz and just see where your interests lie. And it may help you just with some of the methods you use with your particular curriculum. Now, I say to choose your teaching style first, for very good reason. There are so many curriculums out there. Once you narrow down to the style that best suits your needs and fits your goals for your family, then you're going to be able to just look at the curriculums that fall in that category, and it's going to narrow down your choices and make it a little bit less overwhelming for you. Again, I will link below some curriculum choices that are really popular for each of those, and then you can kind of do your own research and look at reviews of those things on YouTube. Now, you may be hearing the whole 2 to 3 hours a day thing and be getting really excited. Let me tell you something else that's going to be exciting for you. Most homeschool families only homeschool for 4 days a week. That's right, you heard me. We have homeschooled for 4 days a week for our entire 7 years of homeschooling, and it works really wonderfully. Most curriculums are conducive to a 4-day week, and they actually have options for that within the scope and sequence, so you can arrange your schedule for the year around that. I love doing 4 days a week and kind of keeping the 5th day for field trips, for nature groups, and for getting together with friends. Which brings me to my next point: socialization. The famous concern around homeschooling is that your kids will not be socialized. Let me tell you from personal experience and many years of it that this is simply not true. Unless you intentionally live under a rock and keep your children there with you, your children will be socialized. Now, with the pandemic this year, we actually have an entirely new set of challenges around this, just as human beings in general, not just as homeschoolers. But it is really important for you to get involved in local co-ops or local homeschool groups, or just get a few families that are homeschooling to meet up once a month. It's important to find community in different places, but being socialized is not something that you're going to need to be concerned about at all. In fact, I found the opposite to be true. I can typically tell children have been homeschooled by their excellent and above average social and communication skills. I think the reason for this is kids who are homeschooled are more likely to socialize with people of all ages rather than just their peers in a classroom for 8 hours every day. This makes a giant difference in their ability to communicate when they're speaking with people who are on a lower level than them and on a higher level than them, and they're able to teach and then learn, and it's just this beautiful cycle. And I really think that God designed the family very intentionally for that purpose. Don't forget to check out the laws in your state for homeschooling, which I'm sure are ever evolving in the midst of our pandemic. Many states have a coalition, such as here in Texas, that you can join for legal protection if you ever need it, for school ID cards, or you don't have to join. You can just get all of the loads of information off of their website, which is very helpful. And here in Texas, we don't have to send tests into anyone. We don't have to be under the supervision of a teacher, but those types of things vary from state to state, and you'll be able to find a website for your state that will give you all of the info. I would also recommend joining a Facebook page for your state or even for your town, and the Homeschool Mamas in your local area will be a wealth of information, and you can just hop on there and ask questions when you have one, and definitely somebody will be on there willing to help. Last but not least, I want to applaud you for your decision to homeschool. I am so excited to hear all of your stories. Comment down below and tell me what your concerns are, what you're excited about. And let me just tell you, your kids are going to benefit so much from this time that you are taking off to pour into them, to give them a childhood where they have more time for play and more time for adventure and for exploration and for following their interests. And it's going to pay off. You can do this.